Hello and welcome to the Jim Ruff Show. Today my special guest is Cheryl Honey, who is the founder of the Family Support Network and who also runs something called Community Weaving, which is about healing the breakdown of community. And I first ran into Cheryl because she is a co-author of this book that I'm in also, and it's the definitive, it's called the Change Handbook, and it's a definitive resource to today's best methods for engaging whole systems. And so Cheryl has a chapter in that for that too. So welcome, Cheryl.
Well, thank you, Jim. I really appreciate you having me on the show today.
I'm glad to have you. So tell us a little bit about how, I'm really excited about how you got started in this. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about what this is and how you got it started.
Well, it's interesting how I got my start because we had come to Seattle, and a few years after that I became president of the Washington Film and Video Association, and we'd started our new business concurrently that same year. And the association took so much of my time during lobbying efforts to reinstate budgets in film offices and be able to establish the City of Seattle Film Office that our business was really hurting. So that meant our family wasn't getting all their needs met. So I went to social services to ask for some assistance. And interestingly enough, I was treated like I was broken and needed to be fixed. And I thought, I'm not broken and I don't need to be fixed. I said, what I need is I need to be connected to other community members that live near me so that we could pool resources, create childcare co-ops, and care for each other, similar to people do when they're in villages. But the caseworker told me we can't do that. It's against our policies and procedures. It violates confidentiality laws and liability. And I thought, you know what? We really have problems in River City, and we have to do something to start looking at ways to connect people together where they can help one another.
Okay, so the system we have in place, welfare, whatever, is set up so that community can't be there. It almost resists community.
Well, it's actually an evolution that happened over time that shifted our culture from a decade ago where families were there in community to help one another. If someone needed some help, the whole community showed up, or they'd have a big barn dance. And that would generate the sense of social connections to create community. Now, I have a diagram here that talks about the shredding of that fabric of community over time when we began to start creating institutions at a system level that started saying, we'll care for you now.
Wow.
Well, John McKnight has a book called The Careless Society, Community and Its Counterfeits. Institutions can't care for people. People have to care for people. And the fabric of community lies in those relationships of those interconnections.
Yes, I love how you say institutions can't care for people. People have to care. I'm always astounded when I read at a hotel, this hotel cares for you. But it's
so
a beautiful
it's the
line.
people. It's about
people
caring for each other. So if we look at the computer screen here, we see that there's a weaving the fabric of community diagram. And here's the shredded fabric of community. And you see with this, all of these little interconnections, when they're broken because of the variety of factors that occur in community, we're looking at people actually falling through. And the system was created to begin to start meeting people's needs. Well, here we go with the funding shifts and the system's cracking, and people are falling out. And the Family Support Network International was created actually as you see, here's the grassroots web of support where community members are good neighbors and they share and pool resources using the brand new technology that we developed that's free to use at familynetwork.org.
Okay,
and
so
by
you
sharing that, they can actually access resources on their own behalf to help one another. But what I found over the last 15 years that we've created the Family Support Network is that people are not comfortable asking for help. That's the culture that we live in. And people at times are not willing or concerned about well, what if I become vulnerable and I'm willing to share my resources? What happens then? But I'm here as living testament that over the last decade, I have met and seen some incredible relationships that have been built just from the expression of, I don't have a couch in my living room, or I had a woman on Mercer Island say, I have a beautiful living room set and we're changing our motif and I just don't want to give it to any, local Salvation Army or group. So what they did was we connected people to each other, and there was a relationship born across socioeconomical barriers.
Was there a relationship born? In other words,
Absolutely.
the two people got to know each other?
Absolutely.
For that?
The African-American woman that had no furniture in her house had just inherited from Child Protective Services 2 grandchildren, had no furniture in her living room. And so we took her over to the woman's house on Mercer Island, and they exchanged furniture. Heartwarming story, heartwarming.
Nice.
Yeah. So you begin to see community weaving emerges out of this model where we begin to start weaving the human and tangible resources of the individuals in community with the skills and expertise of the formal institutions up here, because we're at a time right now where we have a culture relying on formal systems to get their needs met. They've been trained to do that. And there's not enough out there, and with the budget cuts that are being proposed, there's even going to be less.
So we're trained to work with institutions, but the reality is it's just us folk here, and you've got a technology and a way to link people, not only the people that have extra that would like to contribute actually want connection with people, and the people who are who don't have this in their lives right now, they'd like to link with people as well. And you have a technology to bring this together.
And here's the magic of it. It's formal institutions. Let's say, for the example, the American Red Cross. They had individuals who needed more than just a voucher to be able to survive the disaster. Their house burnt down and they were not coping well. So what ended up is they would refer individuals into the Family Support Network, and our trained volunteers, good neighbors and family advocates, we house people in our home, we help people get their plumbing fixed, we help them get the resources that they need to get their lives back on track.
Yeah, so it sounds like the hard part is if people think of this as a welfare thing, but if they think of it as a sharing thing, it seems like it really works, huh?
It's a model that actually shifts the way community services are delivered, from agencies delivering services to their team working with volunteers, good neighbors, that actually create a safety net to support the services themselves. Services are not in the future going to be able to meet the demand. We have to train the skills down into the grassroots that the service providers have, and that they're going to be providing services out and use us to be able to deliver them.
Gosh.
So the caseworker will not be overloaded. Now, I have a wonderful diagram here that I can show you with regards to how that works.
Now, if it's on the computer, the camera's not located properly for that. Do you want to show your video, maybe?
Let's go ahead and show the video.
Okay.
That'll give you participants a really good understanding of.
Okay, so we're going to have a 7-minute video.
You bet. Thank you.
For women who don't have close friends or family to turn to when times get tough, simple things like grocery shopping or even vacuuming can seem like a huge ordeal. Well, now there's an innovative group called the Family Support Network that can help, as long as you're willing to exchange your services later down the road. Their basic philosophy is, you get what you give.
David.
How much do we have left there, John? It's just raining like cats and dogs out here.
9 years ago, Cheryl Honey was on welfare in an abusive relationship and far away from family and friends in Bothell, Washington.
I was in a circumstance where there was domestic violence, and there was, my teenager was using drugs, and I was really struggling with How can I find support in dealing with the circumstances that I was dealing with here at the house?
She tried the normal social services route and got nowhere. Frustrated, Cheryl gathered some neighbors at a local school, and that's when the idea hit her. The idea that lots of people she knew, poor or not, had plenty of skills that could be shared.
They had to learn how to fix their toilets. They had to learn how to fix their cars. So they had a bunch of skills. If we could just get connected, we'd be able to help one another.
Okay, John, let's get these.
That was the beginning of the Family Support Network, a group of volunteers who function like an extended family for people who don't have one.
What happened to your son?
He's living with his mom right now.
This man has just been evicted from his home, and Cheryl and her volunteers are helping him move to a safe place.
You got a place to stay for a while.
If a neighbor has a problem, be it a leaky faucet or a runaway child, the Family Support Network will be there to help. And the cost?
When the person calls in to the Family Support Network, we fill out a form. And it's with whatever they need. They'll tell us what they need. And on that same form is a list of things that they can give in the future when they're ready to. And the whole point of this is to fearlessly give and fearlessly receive deeds of love. That's our vision. And so the receivers become the givers at some point.
I strongly believe that you get what you give most of the time. And I love helping people, I always have. And Cheryl, hey, I think I would do, short of a few things with my morals, I'd do just about anything. If she said, I need this or that, Rose, or, you know, can you do this or that? You know, I'd do it if I could.
Members of the Family Support Network can participate in one of three ways: as a good neighbor, sharing goods, services, and information; as a partner, providing cash, equipment, and expertise to the group; or as a family advocate, volunteers who are trained to counsel, be a shoulder to lean on, or just run errands.
What it does for me is it helps give me a sense of purpose. I'm not just out here on this earth going to work, coming home and watching TV. It gives me a sense of purpose in life and working together with the rest of the people here to do something.
Spell that again for me one more time, please.
Since 1993, the Family Support Network has helped hundreds of people, like Anna Waldman, who after 2 surgeries found herself laid up and alone.
Oh, how you doing?
Fortunately for Anna, the Family Support Network stepped in to help.
And they took the rubbish out for me because I can't lift or carry anything, and vacuumed and went to the grocery store. And then Cheryl's been a real support. I've talked to her a few times on the phone.
Today, the Family Support Network has grown to over 300 members across the country and Canada. Their members include doctors and lawyers, ministers and mechanics. Cheryl has even received a commendation from the president.
Over all the years, what I have found is that as individuals are touched by the process, they have started to live in relationship to one another. They have kindred friendships, and then they have been able to continue to give. Those that have received assistance from others turn around and they want to give.
The Family Support Network gets no funds from the state or federal government, opting instead for member donations. But because of their success, they've recently received a grant.
The Family Support Network has changed my life. I was feeling so isolated and disconnected here. I just didn't know where to turn. And over the years, I've been connected to some absolutely incredible people, very giving, very loving, and at one time very needy. But we have become like a family.
What it does for me is it helps give me a sense of purpose in life and working together with the rest of the people here to do something.
They had a bunch of skills. If we could just get connected, we'd be able to help one another. We have become like a family.
Welcome back. I love that last quote where it says to waken the human community to fearlessly give and fearlessly receive. It's like a strange thing that we somehow have forgotten that and have to become resolute in order to be able to do it. So, okay, so we've had this breakdown of the community, and you have a very simple solution, which is age-old, which is to bring people together in a sense of community. And you have a technology, which we're going to get into a little bit about how you do that. But I thought maybe before we do that, because we don't want to forget, you've also won a lot of awards. You've won a number of awards and been recognized for this. Maybe you could tell us a little bit. Apparently you've just won the mini Nobel Prize for giving and receiving the Jefferson Award, is that right?
These are quite unexpected, actually. There have been some awards, nominations that people have given. One was for the Jefferson Award you just mentioned, and that is to ordinary people doing extraordinary things.
Yeah.
And I really feel like I'm really, I want to be able to live my passion, what I care about, into the world so that I could create a better world for my kids and the future generations that are coming. Our society is breaking down, and I want to be able to just lend some basic insights and a legacy, so to speak. And one of the legacies that I'm venturing in through that a method that revealed itself over time. It didn't happen, but just being knowledgeable and awake enough that I went back to Antioch University and finally got a degree to support all this. The Jefferson Award, the Giraffe Award for sticking my neck out, the Daily Points of Light Award for February 8th, 2007, I guess. So there's been a few.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I don't do this work for awards. I do this work because it's my passion. Yeah. And I'm grateful that the awards lend credibility to be able to open doors so people would listen. Because if you're a citizen walking off the street, it's really hard to get people in positions of leadership and policymakers to listen to you. You're one of 1,000 million voices out there, and that's one reason that I really am so excited about what you're doing and creating wisdom councils, is to be able to create a voice for the people. If we could just divert our attention here one moment to the computer, I'm going to show you really quickly an overview of the methodology of community weaving, so you begin to see what emerged over the years that took our family support network that we started in our little elementary school and grew it into this big model that's transforming lives and communities around the world.
Around the world. So there's people all over can be doing this.
We're in over 100 communities here in the United States. We're in 6 countries around the globe.
Terrific.
Right. Now, as we know that there's gifts and assets that individuals have, their skills and talents, and oftentimes we don't have access. I know you, Jim Ruff, but I don't know you as far as I think you're a cyclist. There's things that you have, garden tools, special skills, talents. Those aren't things that people usually know about each other because we live around each other and don't know each other at a deeper level. That's a virtually untapped resource and community that the familynetwork.org website now, good neighbors, individuals from organizations and communities, churches, schools can use to begin to start pooling the resources of all the members in the groups. And as you see, there's human resources. You have someone, even a senior in your community is a great storyteller. You wouldn't know that when she's hobbling across the street, for example. And then there's tangible resources that the possessions people have that they're willing to share. Someone uses a sewing machine 3 times in a year. Why not allow a senior to come over to the house in the afternoon and the person mentor the young lady in order to create that, they call them culminating projects in high school. But you begin to start seeing that if we start pooling those resources, we can build our individual capacity because we have access and the capacity of the whole community. There's community assets in community, and John McKnight's done a lot of work called asset-based community development on that level, And when you're looking at system level, you're looking at institutions, schools, churches, organizations, and all of those have services and programs that they provide. The challenge that we're having today is the fact that when the funding is decreased, you have all those professional skills that when the programs are done, the people scatter. Where do they go? They're being picked up somewhere, corporations. But the problem that we're having right now is that we're losing them in the fringes, and some of them are ending up on our welfare rolls because they can't find work. So let's capture those, and we call those individuals FSN partners, and then they share what they're willing to give to community members. The service delivery paradigm currently is that you have a caseworker that delivers services to an individual, and they do a needs assessment. Now, I went back to school to find out how that works, okay? And that's a one-to-one dynamic. That's when the caseworker told me I was broken and needed to be fixed, and their policies and procedures said, this is how you can get fixed. Well, that's nuts. So we simply basically went to the dynamic that said, okay, here's the needs, here's the institutions and programs that will fix your needs, and then roundabout, that individual is working at a lesser capacity to get their needs met. And long and short, the caseworkers are overloaded with the number of clients that they're working with, and they're absolutely going apes trying to get their needs met, and she can't keep track of all of the referrals that she's made for the individual. So we've just basically said, hey, look, let's train a community weaver out of every institution and organization across the community, create a container called community weaving, right? And then they actually recruit their members into the network. And this one database allows all the good neighbors from across the community to share resources, insight, and knowledge. So we can cross-fertilize into schools and in churches and public health centers. Then they cluster or self-organize is what we call it, based on their interest or passion. If you want to create a wisdom council, you can use the network to pull people into certain groups in schools, agencies, organizations. Someone else might have an interest, for example, in doing a neighborhood potluck or a parenting class or organizing a child care co-op. But long and short of it, if we begin to start looking at training individuals, they can go back and a caseworker can say, this isn't how to fix you, I'm going to coach you and help you access the resources and teach you.
So one thought occurs to me that some people get older or whatever, they lose their jobs and they're having a tough time getting a job. And this is almost like an alternative economy in a way, it seems like. So here's a way they can take their skills and capabilities and link up with other people who offer services and capabilities and in a large network and be in community, maybe virtual community, and figure out, maybe even work together on finding jobs, or maybe even create an organization, or just all kinds of things, huh?
All sorts of things emerge from this, and it's not so much that it's a virtual community. What's really exciting about this is that it's actually, the technology is a tool for agencies and organizations to be able to use to help their community members. So if you're in a school and you get your parents to register as the good neighbors to be community together, right, for that school, then you can actually publish an amazing directory of all of the resources, either skills or equipment, or their experience is also an asset. But most of all, I want you to remember is what I've gained from this is that individuals want to have fun, and they have created opportunities. We've had ropes courses, we've had river rafting trips, we've had all sorts of like egg drop competitions with the local fire department. And what makes this so valuable is when people engage in a way that's fun, you're actually increasing their connectedness to community, that sense of well-being, that sense of happiness, and that's what we're working towards. Resiliency in community, the factors include hope, purpose, and people have to feel like they belong. Everybody has something to offer. Everybody has a gift and a skill. So the more resourceful we are amongst each other, the more valuable a resource we become to our own families, our community, and our whole world.
Beautiful. So everybody has a gift to offer, and everybody has has the needs, and this is a strategy, an approach for bringing those together.
And I just want to show one last framework here.
Okay, we got about a minute left.
That's
so,
right.
Okay.
If they can put that framework up, I just want to be able to show you that on the left, you'll be able to see that these are formal systems. In the community weaving model on the right, you see that this gives a grassroots, some form or function, leadership skills, opportunities to teach, builds community capacity and social capital. And that whole circle you'll see in the center is the feedback loop that goes back and forth using an opinionaire and or a wisdom council from those organizations in community so that we could reform democracy in America.
All right, so this actually feeds into democracy and feeds into the other tools that we know exist. So it's a very complementary process.
Let's not only create a voice of the people, Jim, let's go out and mobilize those people to make a difference in community around the world.
Nice words.
Thanks.
Okay, my special guest today is Cheryl Honey. She lives in Bothell, but she's actually the international headquarters for the Family Support Network.
Family Support Network International.
International.
And we can be reached at www.familynetwork.org or at 206-240-2241. And please visit communityweaving.org to learn more about the model and how you can host a training in your community.
That's perfect. Thank
Thanks.
you.